This thing is a representation of your inner thoughts. The different circles represent different types of thought, beliefs, desires, expectations, intuitions, etc. All embedded together in the big circle as a kind of body of thought, where they mutually reinforce and often challenge one another. What makes humanity special is that we have ethics, technology, symbolism, culture, story. All of these derive not from mere thinking, but from metacognition or meta-thinking. We can actually see our thoughts and the thoughts of others, arrange them and rearrange them, test them, dance with them. Theoretically, metacognition is the most valuable form of thinking, because it allows you to see and understand from a higher perspective everything that you think, do, and believe, and why, so that you can make adjustments as you see fit and avoid doing things that do not suit your highest purposes. In practice, however, metacognition is dangerous and generally maladaptive. When you question your beliefs, processes, and purposes, what you're looking for are better, truer answers. But they are not just sitting there on the shelf to be plucked. When you enter into a state of self-examination and doubt, you are confronted with the void. That is to say that whatever conclusion you might come to, whatever course you might chart, in the void, there is no end to the means by which you can continue to doubt and wonder and examine. Herein, I will adapt the use of God 1 and God 2 as separate ontological concepts. I'll define them for you. God 1 is the highest, the innermost and the outermost, the source and the boundary of all things, or something like that. We're going to work toward God 2. Give me just a minute. Metacognition is a relationship with the transcendent. It is a sort of conversation or argument that you have with your own sense of purpose. Here's John Vervaeke on purpose.
So you have to be very careful about purpose, and this is another thing the culture is a little bit mixed up about. People confuse purpose with sort of a final goal. Right, once I get there, I'll be happy.
Right.
And that's very problematic, because if you don't reach it, then your life is meaningless. And then if you reach it and you continue to live, your life is meaningless.
Right.
So instead of thinking about, the word I prefer is orientation. You have like a North Star. You have something that orients you, so you know how to, in a reliable way, navigate through the world, track your way through the world, and then narrate your world. Keep track of your tracking to yourself. So that's what purpose is.
The metacognitive realm is vast, and if you try to go it alone, you will miss out on almost everything worth seeing. But if you follow exclusively the wisdom of other people and institutions, you will get roped into endless argumentation, because other people argue endlessly. In order to navigate the transcendent in a way that is good or purposeful, humanity relies upon orientation. On the y-axis here, we have the clarity of your orientation as it relates to the different levels of being. This could just be a set of rules given to you by an authority figure, or even better, an ethos, or a set of beliefs and principles. But the highest agent of orientation is an identity that serves to guide metacognition toward the good. This identified agent is God 2. So you start with rules, and then okay guide, I guess, not really. And then you get to an ethos, which is much better. And finally, you come into contact with a God 2. Some people, because of trauma, either severe or persistent, can become severed from their God 2. Some people, some institutions, some entire societies even. They become trapped in the metacognitive realm, and in their desperation to find a way back home, they take up philosophy, or theology, or politics, or drugs, some pathway to authority. They seek to define God for themselves by defining God for everyone. This is called idolatry, and in my experience, nobody ever really gets it. So what is a non-idolatrous God 2? It's a kind of animating, identified spirit. In Christianity is called Christ. The Platonists called it the daimon, like a personal guiding spirit, a personal manifestation of the gods or archetypes. If you want to metacognize without losing your grip or marching off to fight in someone else's war, you need a god too, an incarnation that orients your metacognition. If you do not have a god too that orients your metacognition, and thus your very being, then you are ruled by the loudest of your impulses, and your life becomes a game of whack-a-mole against your own personal desires, pain, and most of all, insecurity. In psychoanalytic or Gnostic terms, you are ruled by ego. In pop Christian terms, you become the pitiful plaything of the devil. So why is an identity or God too necessary? Why can't we just construct our own ethos through philosophy? So philosophy is very important, by the way, and nobody, especially philosophers, seems to realize how important philosophy is. But pay attention. We need God too, because we are social beings, and our understanding of the good and of being itself is optimized for embodiment and story, or mythos. Not legalistic self-interests and abstract arrangements of principles, which is what an idolatrous ethos always becomes, and what always corrupts religions and individuals. What the West is desperately seeking right now, via identity politics and the re-emergence of nationalism, is a coherent social ethos. And if you want the cold, hard reality, that is only found in a community with a shared mythos and a shared God too. In upcoming weeks, we will discuss the shocking revelations discovered deep below the Egyptian pyramids about the secret true relationship between Prometheus and Christ, Lord of the Rings, the Minecraft uprising, and lots more.